So what we're looking at here is our 2004 and a half LLY Duramax that has a misfire and a circuit supply command signal coming from the PCM to the FICM. We're looking at a graph, mainly looking at the milliamp control to the regulator and looking at the regulator command percentage. And if you'll listen in the background, you hear the engine running. When it runs pretty choppy, you'll see your milliamp regulator. You'll see it, it'll kind of go to the mountaintops there. And really, that should be a pretty smooth transition on that. You should see a smooth transition, not that sawtooth pattern. And then you'll notice when it straightens out, it pretty much flatlines. So you can hear it chopping in the background there. So the question is it the regulator or are we dealing with another issue? So let's find out. So you saw what we had going on in the graphic that I put up first. So anyway, got our 2004 and a half LLY Duramax, and it came in here for a misfire, and well, that was it, a misfire. So during the course of my diagnosis, I found that problem, and I didn't know it did that. I just was told it had a misfire. So the first thing I did, was I scanned for codes, and I had a P1241, which is that number 7 control signal going to the FICM, telling it, yeah, let's hit number 7 here. So I, of course I recorded the, I don't remember if it had freeze frame or not. I don't think it does, but anyway, I, wrote it down and cleared them out. And that was the only code that it had. And so then I went after that circuit, and I checked the circuit with my bulb here, from end to end, unplugged it at ECM. The only thing that I didn't do that I should have done was I should have checked the pin tension at each end, because what I did was, that told me that I was happy that my circuit was good from the FICM to the ECM, or vice versa. Because when I had this on there, I went around and wiggled it real quick. And the problem with using this bulb is we're dealing with some pretty small wires, and the way you get into them, usually I try to use the proper size terminal to stick in there, and then I can ground one end and use the wire in the circuit, and then it will light my bulb, ultimately light the bulb. But these get pretty hot because you're drawing a lot of current there. So you need to do this quick. I've got another method that I use once I'm happy with this. If I still think I might have a problem and I need to spend some time on it, I'll use my incandescent test light in there, because it's not drawing much. But if I hit the break in the wire, or whatever, my loose connection, the light's going to blink or whatever. Well, I didn't see any of that with this, but now I'm kind of rethinking it a little bit, because since I was happy with my circuit, okay, my circuit's fine, except I didn't check the pin tension, which I should have, and I don't know why I didn't, but I'll do that. I thought, well, okay, the easiest thing to do here, since I have access to a good FICM, and I know this is a good FICM because we had it on another truck and it worked just fine. Not too hard to change, a couple fuel lines, a couple connectors, threw that in there, primed it up, and then a little bit later I went and test drove it, and I gave it a good test drive at lunchtime, and the thing ran just perfect. Going down the road runs perfect. But what I did notice when I got back here into the shop yard, it was, as soon as I stopped, it was running choppy, and like you saw in that video of the graphic. And so I thought, what the heck? And at that point, it had not set a code for the number 7 injector circuit. So I came in here, and that's when I took that graphic. And so now we're trying to figure out what the problem is here. So did I miss something in the wiring harness? Do I have a loose terminal, or is my PCM bad? So I'm sure it isn't on the other end. If you have a problem, in this, between the FICM and the ECM, you're going to get a series of those codes that only are related to those circuits. If you have a problem on the other end, if it sees an open or a short or anything funky going on the line, the FICM is going to shut down. You have 4 it's a V8, so you got 4 injectors, 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and they're all matched up so that when it does kill the other 4 cylinders, the engine isn't out of balance. It'll fire the other 4 cylinders only. It'll shut those 4 injectors off on there, and that's only if you have a connection issue, an open or a short on between the FICM and the injectors. And the reason it does that is so that it'll protect the doesn't burn the drivers up in the fuel injection control module. So I know my problem isn't on the other end of that. So right now I need to find, figure out, is my ECM, am I losing my signal coming out of the ECM? Do I have a pin tension issue? Which, since I started it up this morning, I had a misfire and it reset this code, and it hadn't done that on my test drive or all the testing I did the other day on it, for at least an hour that I was poking and prodding on it. So I need to check my pin tension, like I said, and the other thing I need to do is, I have a 4-channel scope, so that signal I need to scope it, back probe the ECM, back probe the FICM where it comes in, and if I lose it at the ECM, then I need to really scrutinize my connector, make sure that I have a good connection there, a good pin tension, which I'll check here in a minute. If I lose it at this end, but I still have it over here at the ECM, then, I know that there's something goofy going on in that circuit, either one of the connectors or one of the bends, or that I just happened to miss the other day. Maybe I didn't touch it in the right spot. So, that's what I need to do. I need to focus on the circuit between the FICM and here, not worry about anything that goes down yonder to the injectors, because like I said, if you have an issue down there, you're going to lose 4 cylinders, it's going to shut them off, and that's really obvious when that happens. So when I check pin tension, I have a kit of these various size, male terminals here. I got females too, but depending on what you're trying to do here. And this is actually a Ford cam position sensor, but I'm using it as an example. I'll slide these in there because they fit, they're the right terminal, and then I'll feel for a drag. And I don't have much drag on this one, especially this side here. I don't like that, and that's why this got chopped off, because it had a terminal issue, and the issue with these is generally when it's cold, you're going to lose your cam signal, because of the temperature. It's temperature related. You go out there to fire your truck up and it won't start. I think I did a video on one here recently where I just went ahead and replaced this based on the symptoms, and it fixed it. So, I don't always like to do that, but when you see things enough times, you just pull the trigger on something cheap like this and see if it fixes it, and didn't have another problem after we changed that. But in a situation like this, you actually need to diagnose it, and if it's broken, it can be fixed. You got to keep that in mind. It's just how much time do you want to spend on it. So what you want to have is, you want to have the tools that save you time, so that you can get in and you need to have your service information. You have to have pinouts. You got to have wiring diagrams. You need to be able to look at the wiring diagram. There's a description of the circuit in there, but sometimes they don't make a lot of sense. I might you know, breeze through that real quick, maybe read some of the diagnostic aids if it's something that I'm not real familiar with. But generally I'm going to look at the wiring diagram. How does this work? Okay, so we got a driver in here that, you know, pulse width modulated, sends a signal over here, this receives it, and it does what it needs to do with this. You know, this module does its thing based on what it's seeing here, and that's what we have going on here. So the next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and the other day I was using a little tablet to pull up my pinouts and stuff like that, but I'm going to go ahead, go in the office, and I'll print out, you know, all the sheets that I need of the wiring diagram, pinouts and all that, and then I can bring them out here and then I'll have them right in front of me, and I can highlight the circuit that I need to look at, so I can just look at it quick. And because I don't remember what pins they are here now, that was the other day, and I've worked on, you know, 10 things since then. So anyway, I'll go do that, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more testing.